Hey, so it's Josh McEwen here with episode 16 of Dufferin Spotlight on Business, where we bring your community to you by letting you know what's available in the area while highlighting the advantages of shopping local. And this week we are joined by the owner of Branching Out Support Services, Kimberly Van Ryn, which is located right in Orangeville at 5 First Street. Through Branching Out Support Services, Kim and her team create beneficial and engaging opportunities for everyone, with the focus on including people with developmental differences from our community. Branching Out is just over a month old, but they have big plans and are growing at a fast pace. They've already started up an amazing day program, which emphasizes a wide variety of skill building with the intent of preparing their participants for successful and happy lives with us and our community. Branching Out has a bunch of other things going on, though, that we can all take part in, including bowling get-togethers, movie nights, and mentoring groups. I'm really glad we got to do this episode, so I'd like to thank Kim for taking the time to help make it possible, and for creating a business such as this in Dufferin. We're really lucky, and I can't wait to see everything that Kim and her team accomplish. Anyways, I know you all are going to enjoy this one, but thank you for listening to Dufferin Spotlight on Business. Alright, so this is Josh McEwen here with Dufferin Spotlight on Business, and today I'm joined by Kimberly Van Ryn of Branching Out Support Services, which is located on 5 First Street in Orangeville.
Thanks for having me on the show, Josh.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. So if you don't mind, could you just let us know a little bit about yourself and then your business?
Sure. So I've been living here in Orangeville. I think I'm coming up on 11 years in March. So I do consider this to be home. I grew up just north of here, so I've been in the region for a while, but I've called Orangeville home for quite some time. And before I was here, I lived in various places in Canada. I studied in Toronto, did my child and youth work diploma at Humber College. I worked for a foster care agency early on in my career, and then I lived out west for a little while, took a break from the field, and I actually managed a retail store here on Broadway for a while, and then I came back into the field and so the human services field, developmental services, about 3 years ago, completed my BA with a focus on developmental theory and community development, and it's been a pretty awesome journey.
Nice. Wow. That's quite an experience, like quite a diverse background too. I mean, all these different areas where you're helping all different kinds of people, and then also managing a retail store, so you do have that management experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, wow. So if you don't mind, can you just let us know a little bit more about Branching Out Support Services?
Sure. So Branching Out Support Services is my latest leg of the journey. It's a brand new venture. We just opened our doors on December 1st, 2019. So we're just over a month old, and we're serving a population in Orangeville, mostly people who have developmental disabilities and differences. So we run a day program here for adults who have developmental differences, and it's a recreational and therapeutic day program. So we offer tons of different activities during the day that offer a lot of value and purpose to people's lives, as well as skill building and opportunities like volunteering and work opportunities. So we're developing all those pieces of that part of the Branching Out program. And then additionally to that, we run a lot of therapeutic groups and social opportunities here that really anybody in Orangeville could access. And we're trying to hit a lot of different age groups with those groups too. So we're doing things like life skills, social skills, day away trips. We do movie nights, art activities, and as time moves on, we'll expand that. And then I'm doing quite a bit of consultant work as well. So I'm involved with some other big agencies in the area, and I take on cases that we do family and individual support in the community. So I have quite a few contractors who are in on those projects as well. And it's been a wild ride.
Wow. Wow, it sounds like it. You're involved in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we are.
Wow. That's good, though, because, I mean, it sounds like you're getting all different kinds of groups involved, and you're helping support people in a variety of different ways, which is great, because, I mean, this is a population that definitely could use some more support, and we should be getting them more involved in the community.
Yeah, and I think part of our goal we're really committed to both inclusion and diversity. So we want to let people, live with their diversity and what makes them different and special and unique, and then help other people in our community and other groups learn how to incorporate celebrate and be with all different kinds of people. So our location was really strategically decided upon. We wanted a downtown location so that we could really be part of this community, visible in this community. And that was a real philosophy decision that my team and I made, and one that we're really committed to. And we just want to be able to work that side of social justice, in that we want Orangeville and Dufferin County to be a place that is truly inclusive. And we're excited about work like that.
Awesome. And I mean, if people haven't seen it yet, they should definitely check out your Facebook page, because you can definitely see how everyone is getting involved and having a good time, doing a variety of different activities. And like you said before, like volunteering and work skills, like these are awesome things. So I mean, if you want to see some positivity on Facebook, you should follow Branching Out Support Services and Instagram too as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So are you working on any major projects or jobs?
So, getting the organization lifted off the ground in a fairly short amount of time was a huge project.
Yeah.
And so right now we're really focusing on program development, especially around job skills. So my community inclusion manager, Dave Hamilton, is really working with partnering with some of the bigger organizations in town, like Community Living Dufferin Child and Family Services, to see that we can expand those activities for everyone and to be able to secure legitimate working placements. And that may not always necessarily mean 8 hours a day work placements for people. It could be modified, sometimes needs to be for people within our population.
Yeah.
But finding people paid employment so that they can get that value, that self-esteem, and that, reduction of loneliness in their lives. So that's a big one that we're focusing on right now. And then my other two managers, Sarah Clark and Megan Williams, who mostly run the day program and life enrichment, are really focusing on bringing in our community partners to provide the very best service for our people who come to day program.
Awesome.
We're developing, this is our big dream for the spring, is to host the first Human Services Conference in Dufferin County, day-long conference here in Dufferin County, and we're working on the details for that, and just to really be able to bring really anyone in Dufferin County who's working in human services or front line with human beings, right, to really come together for a day of really uplifting and kind of outside the box workshops and networking. So that's a big project that's going to be coming up in the spring, and hopefully we can all stay focused in order to pull that together and have an awesome day.
Awesome. That sounds like an amazing thing. I mean, especially if you're including all the different groups of people. And I think when we were discussing this before, all the stakeholders, right? Mm-hmm. Which is very important.
Absolutely. And including people with differences in a day like that. So whether that be through self-advocacy workshops, or housing workshops, job skills, that kind of thing, so that it's not just a conference for professionals, but breaking down some of those power structures and really truly bringing everyone together. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the best way to get the solutions that will most likely work, is if you include everyone, especially the people that are affected and that are actually going to be taking part in these solutions.
Right.
We shouldn't be having one-sided conversations.
Right.
Like, it doesn't help anybody.
Right. And I think that this is about empowerment, right? So we're not putting people into job placements. We're finding out through strength-based assessments where their skills lie, what they're interested in, what they might love to do, helping people find a passion project that we know, probably for you, I know for myself, after my first year in a private college, I figured out that child and youth work was my passion. That's what I wanted to do. And I went after that full steam, and I succeeded because I had that opportunity. So really what we're doing is providing opportunity and empowerment.
Awesome. Because like you said, like, and empowerment's a great thing, because like you were talking about self-advocacy workshops, which is extremely important, because I mean, having people speak for themselves and defend themselves is a great part, like, of empowerment, right?
Right.
And that helps increase your self-worth, and that in combination with job and like in volunteer work, like, that can help a ton, and it helps combat things like depression and, like you mentioned before, isolation, all these different things. Like, everybody would be affected by that, literally everybody. So I mean, it's a benefit that we're helping get all populations involved to help combat loneliness and depression. Like, I mean, those are horrible things to deal with. So yeah. So how many people do you employ today?
So full-time at Branching Out during the day, we have Dave Hamilton, Sarah Clark, and Megan. So there's 3 who work the day shift here at Branching Out. And then I have a variety of contractors doing a whole bunch of different things. So sometimes they run groups for me. I have an awesome young lady who runs our glee club, someone else who supervises art. We have a couple other support professionals who supervise when we do day away trips. And then I have support professionals and resource workers who are doing family work out in the community, as well as working with people one-to-one. So right now on contract, I probably have 8 to 10.
Wow.
And that will grow steadily as we pick up more work like that. And you know what? Frankly, if day program continues to grow the way it is now, we'll have another day program staff on soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's been, for me, it's been amazing to create jobs in human services in Dufferin County and really make a commitment to offering people a good living wage and proper training and support around the work that they do. That's been really fulfilling for me.
Yeah,
really important.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome that like a business such as this can make it, and it's growing at such an early stage as well. It's awesome that this is being made use of, because I mean, there is a gap in our system, right? And I mean, there's wait lists miles long for day programs and any kind of assistance. So I mean, it's awesome that there is somebody that's taking the entrepreneurial spirit and bringing this as a business to help fill the gap. So that's awesome. And it's nice to see that it's actually working, because I mean, you see sometimes that it's like, oh, it's nice they have good intentions, but you've actually put it in a way that it will work from the sounds of it.
We hope so. I mean, it's tough. We know that, starting your own business and taking on that responsibility is huge, but the team is everything here.
100%.
Like, the team is everything, and this is not about me in any way. This is about a team who pulled together, even a group of parents who pulled together around us and supported us in those very first days when we were like, should we do this? So really this is about the community here too.
It seems like a good team from what I've just seen.
Yeah, and I think what's great about our team is that the skill set is diverse. Like,
that's good.
Dave is a deaf-blind intervener, so he's not an interpreter, which is a little bit different within the deaf-blind community. But I mean, he is nearly fluent in sign language, which is great, because then we're able to serve clients with hearing impairments who are deaf, or many people who are on the autism spectrum or with other diagnoses are nonverbal, so they're hearing, but they use sign language. Megan's background is in clinical psychology. Aaron's a therapeutic recreation student. Sarah's developmental services. I'm child and youth work and human services. Like, the skills on this team are very diverse, which is really great that we're not all one thing. Like, we're not all social workers. We're not all developmental service workers, because our clientele is diverse. Obviously, they're humans, right? So then we're really able to pull in our skills where we need to, right? And all of us together make the perfect. If we were one person, do you know what I'm saying with that? Like, if we were one person, we'd be the perfect person. So none of us are perfect. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that when the skill set comes together like that, you're able to provide the highest quality service out there.
Yeah, I mean, and when you have a group of people that actually all care and have a similar goal, but like you said, a diverse skill set,
yes,
that can lead to amazing things.
Yeah, and we have our first student coming from Humber College here.
Awesome.
So we have a social services student starting on Wednesday. So we take student placements and we mentor students in that way too. So again, students usually are very keen and have really awesome ideas and bring fresh eyes to a program, because they're coming in at later, right? And so we're really excited to be able to also mentor up and comers in the field. Like, that is a gift. So we're excited about bringing on a student on our team starting this week too.
Awesome. That's great. From the local school here, like the local Humber school?
Yeah, the local Humber social service worker program.
Awesome.
And we're approved through Sheridan College to have students too. And that will grow.
Sweet.
That will grow.
That's good. I mean, that and then helps, again, more local opportunities for people.
And local training, too, so that people who want to enter the field here in Dufferin County, and we do need more support professionals, social workers, everyone, EAs, child and youth workers, we need all of those people here. So when we can train them locally to know the local resources and how we work here, it's great for our community.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you have a lot of these people that go away, such as myself, that went away for school, and they get trained on all these resources for some place they're not going to be.
Not going to live,
And, okay, it's nice to know these places, but I mean, when you come to a community such as ours, it doesn't have all those resources.
Right.
So you need to learn how to work within the frameworks that we have.
Yeah.
And that's a whole new education.
Yeah, and learn the networks here, right?
Yeah.
Who to call.
Exactly. That's that's a whole nother
So
year at
I
least.
think our team, because we have those diverse backgrounds in education and experience, as a student, I came into a team like that when I was a child and youth work student a million moons ago, right? But as a student, that's a fantastic learning opportunity. When you work with a diverse team like that, it's a wonderful opportunity.
Awesome, I can imagine. Hey everyone, this is our first commercial break. We're new, so we'll just take this time to let you know more about what Dufferin Spotlight on Business is all about, which is a weekly show that features discussions and business leaders from around Dufferin County regarding their businesses and accomplishments. The achievements of small business owners largely go unnoticed, but it is our goal to recognize them, as these are the people who keep small communities like ours alive. In addition to this, we will highlight the advantages of shopping local. So be sure to check back each week to see the amazing things people are doing through their businesses. To learn more about what we do and other shows that we will be producing, be sure to check out dufferinspotlight.ca. Now I hope you enjoy the rest of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. So a related question is, what do you think customers should look for when doing business with somebody in your profession?
I think good communication skills. The team is really important. Look at the team, how they function, how they communicate, and how they communicate with you. I mean, often our customers are caregivers and individuals with developmental differences, but maybe a bit more so the caregivers in this situation right now, especially for day program. So I think caregivers really need to look at communication, transparency, get references, find out who they are. I mean, in this situation, many of the families that are coming to branching out right now, I have relationships with, but we have a code of conduct here, and it lays out exactly what families can expect of us and what our responsibilities are and what theirs are, and we keep that very open and very honest.
Awesome.
And I think that's really important when you go somewhere for service, is to just take a little while to find out about communication styles, if they work well with your family. And it's nice to have options so that you can kind of find those things out. So
Yeah, it's definitely like you are providing an option for people, and that's important.
I think diversity in programming maybe as well, just being able to look at schedules, check out the social media pages, see what's happening, what's going on, and if you think that would work well for the person that you're caring for. I mean, we know in these cases, caregivers are the experts. They've been living with and for their people with exceptionalities for much longer than we have.
Yep.
And I think we always treat caregivers as if they are the experts. We're not. Right? Professionals are not always the experts. That's a funny thing coming from a professional. But it's true, right? Like, I hold families and caregivers in the highest esteem, because when day program's over, or when day program's on holiday, or whatever that case may be, right? They're the front line, right? We're the front line to some extent, but caregivers really are the front line. They're the ones who provide all the infrastructure, all the base for this person's life. And I think that finding a program that has that kind of attitude around caregivers is really important, and can treat their people with utmost respect in every situation.
I mean, it sounds like respect's extremely important. I mean, which is awesome, and openness. Because I mean, we've all been in situations where we've dealt with someone who is a professional in one regard or another, and we've been talked down to,
Right?
Because they have knowledge that we don't, or at least they think we don't. But when you acknowledge that, hey, the caregiver has things that I need to know and have experience that I do not have, because again, like you said, they've lived with them for years.
Yes.
That's big. And then also being open on everything that you do. And I mean, you can see that on your Facebook page. Again, there's tons and tons of photos of everyone just having a good time, which is awesome to see.
Yeah. And, I think that social media shows one side of things. I think the really important work happens in that transparency and communication with caregivers and the individuals that we work with, right? I mean, many of the individuals we work with can completely be part of the conversations around personal care and their goals and what they need. And those conversations obviously aren't happening on social media, but they are happening, right?
Yeah.
So that when someone, caregiver comes at the end of the day, if we've had a challenge with something, whatever that was, right? That right away we're there. We said, this happened today. What strategies do you have? How can we do better in this situation? And we let parents, people we work with, people we encounter, be our teachers.
That's awesome.
That's really important to me.
And it shows you're always looking to improve as well. Because, I mean, as a business, that's very important. Because, I mean, there's programs out there, and, I mean, for all different kinds of populations. And they just need to get by, right? And, I mean, if someone complains, there's another person on the list. But with you, like, you have customers.
Yes.
And it's important that you're always trying to do your best.
Yeah. Like, I think that as with any model out there for any social services, there are pros and cons to the model, right? I mean, the con for us is that we're private. So, you know, finances are in the forefront, right? People have a certain amount of funding, and we need to figure out really creative solutions for how we use that funding.
Yeah.
Right? But on the pro side, transparency is number one in our books, right? Because it is a business and we do have customers. So it's a little different than I think the model that we're used to in nonprofit. And I mean, I've worked for many nonprofits, so I know the pros and cons there too, right? And it's not that one is better than the other. It's finding the model that works best for you and your family. And it's an option, right? And I think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. And I mean, options with this population is a good thing.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many things where we're flooded with option. I mean, you can just go on, like I talk about this all the time, you just go on Amazon, you're going to be flooded with choice. And I mean, it's not going to be a great choice, but you have choice.
Right.
But there's tons of things where you do not have choice on, but at least you are providing another option. And what I've seen, it looks like a great option. So, I mean, that's the better part about it.
Well, and I think the flexibility in being private too is that we can offer those creative care solutions, because at the top of this thing is my team and I, right? So if you bring it to us and you want to talk to us about it, and we're going to be honest about if we can do it or not, right? We don't have to go anywhere else to make that decision. We can make that decision at the table with you, or we can say, we'll get back to you, right? So I just think that there is that flexibility in this business type of model. And I mean, I would consider this a social enterprise because we do have a social mission. Our business benefits the greater good on as many levels as possible, but we have that option. And we have that flexibility that we can sit down at the table with you and make decisions as needed.
Yeah, there's so much when you're dealing with nonprofits, like you said, like a lot of the time they're slow moving because they have to go through their boards and everything else, and there's so much red tape and bureaucracy a lot of the time. But at least with you, like you said, you can get back to them relatively quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you get to do cool things like you had the New Year's party, which I saw on Facebook, which looked like everyone was having a great time.
So fun. Yeah, it was really fun. That's something that I never tried before. And, you know, my staff and I, we have blue sky meetings. And blue sky meetings just means sky's the limit. Like, you guys throw ideas out there. Let's see if we want to do them, if we can make them work. And this was one of the things we were sitting around talking one day early on. And I was like, you know what, guys, we're going to have a New Year's party. I bet you some of our people have never been to a New Year's party without their caregivers, or have just never been invited to a New Year's party. And that was exactly the feedback we got back. We had this place full of people. It was very fun. I mean, when I say full of people, I think we had 11 people here, plus their support professionals. We don't like to put too many people in the space just for people who have space issues, right? But we had all the lights up. We had the music going. They wanted to dance all night. That's what they wanted to do. We had like games and different activities and stuff planned. They wanted to dance all night. We had pizza at 9 o'clock. At 9:30, we did a countdown, see my air quotes. So we put it up on the projector, which it's like a big screen. So the projector over there. So we put the countdown. They pulled the crackers. Like we have a video of it. It's absolutely brilliant.
Awesome.
And when parents were picking up, that was the exact feedback that they gave us. They said, you know, my 19-year-old son has never been to a New Year's party. And like, we had moms with tears in their eyes because their kid who's been excluded from lots of stuff because they're different, their kid who's been bullied, who hasn't been invited to the parties, who, you know, has only been able to go to the events for people with disabilities, who don't get to hang out with their neurotypical peers, got that for the first time ever.
Yeah, which is awesome.
It was landmark, and it was the best New Year's Eve party I've ever been to.
That's awesome.
We had so much fun.
It must be really great for your staff as well, because I mean, like, these blue sky meetings you have, like, I mean, I worked for one of the biggest companies in Canada, and we had all the resources in the world. We would never do anything like that. But here you are, just starting off, and you're having meetings like that, getting everyone involved and doing amazing things.
Yeah, and we really tried to keep that. We basically just charged people for the cost of the pizza and the supervision of people who were here, because we want that stuff to be available.
Yeah.
Like, that's my staff's passion, is to make those kind of things available for people no matter who you are.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what happens when you have a great team like that. Like that's awesome. It's great to see, especially in a business such as this, to have the right people there. It's extremely important. So would you like to mention any family or friends?
Well, certainly the space branching out would not exist without my parents. When I told them, my parents are small business owners. My dad and mom ran a landscaping business for about 40 years. My dad's just in the process of retiring now. So they are not new to small business. Oh. So when I phoned them up and told them that I was going to do this, they were like, all right, what do you need? And I was like, well, this is a list of things that I need. And they were here every single day for 2 weeks. My dad and my partner, James, did most of the work on the space that needed to be done. They renovated the bathroom. They took walls down in the back room. They built ramps. My mom did planters in the front. She cleaned the entire space. They put cupboards together. They salvaged countertops from IKEA. Like the community that came around my family was here doing the work. And the community that rose up around us was just absolutely incredible. I have 3 sisters as well who are very close to me, and one lives here in Orangeville, the other 2 live out of area, but they were with me in spirit every step of the way and encouraging me, right? Awesome. Like when I didn't have time to text them because I was working for 14 hours and not had time to even send a text message, as happens for all you small business owners out there. When you opened your business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those people were around me, and we have a great community here.
We do.
Like really, honestly, too many people for me to mention, because if I start naming names, I'm going to forget someone really important.
Yeah.
I don't want to be responsible for that. But you know who you are.
That's awesome. That's so great that everyone came together for something like this. Because, I mean, we know we have like a strong community, but when it actually comes together and displays itself in something that actually matters and will last, it's great to see. Like it really does make you smile. Like, and I mean, and give you like, it brings a little bit of faith back. Like, I mean, again, you see negativity everywhere, but when you see something like this, it helps balance it a lot.
Yeah. We literally had strangers. Actually, this couch that we're sitting on right now, my partner James had found it on Facebook, and this guy was moving. This angel person, whoever you are out there, I don't even think I know your name. And so he came, they were literally moving, so they had it in the truck. Him and his dad unloaded it, and we told them about what we were doing here, and they said, you take it. And they said, if there's anything else you need, find us on Facebook, drop us a line, wow. we can help. And they gave it to us. Like, we had a parent who gave us the cupboards for the kitchen. We had a friend of a friend who gave us the fridge. Like, people showed up for us. We asked, we said, if we can get these things for free, it would really help a brand new little business who has zero budget and who's doing this big project in this community, right?
Yeah.
And people showed up for us.
Awesome.
Strangers showed up for us too. Yeah, pretty incredible.
That is exactly the kind of stories you want to hear about.
I think that's been the spirit of this project since the first day, and so that makes me feel pretty blessed.
It does. Like, you already have a bunch of people that want to see you succeed, but then with that, it just compounds. It's
yes.
Like, wow.
Yeah, that's true.
It helps you make you believe, like, wow, this is possible.
Yeah.
Because, again, like, you have that support. That is awesome. So I got to ask, when you were younger, did you think you'd be doing this?
I knew I would be working with people. I've always known that, and that has taken various shapes and forms over my adult life. And I think over the past little while, I did feel a calling to this, to having my own business and being able to create the thing for the community that I hope is the right thing. So somewhat, I think starting your own business, no matter what stage of life you're at, is a challenge and a risk. So no, I don't know that I knew I had the capacity to do this when I was younger. That's something that I had to learn.
It's true. I mean, it takes a lot of confidence to do something like this, right?
Or craziness. You choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not sure about that one yet. I'll let you know.
That's awesome, though, because, I mean, we need people doing things like this. I mean, these are the exact kind of risks you want to see people taking. I mean, again, you hear about these crazy stories about people taking these risks that don't lead to great things, but, I mean, this could be, and, I mean, it already is something awesome.
Yeah.
And, I mean, again, if there was more stories like this, then it would be a lot different. Hi everyone, Josh here with another commercial break. So now that you know what the show is all about, let me tell you more about what our mission is with Dufferin Spotlight as a whole. We are looking to cover issues that do not get enough attention by the public, in non-divisive ways, with the hope of increasing awareness and moving discussions forward. In addition to this, with our content, we also aim to support those affected or are trying to solve these issues. There are a lot of issues we'd like to cover, which means a lot of shows. We already have a new show slated for this year, this one completely unrelated to business, but still involves the people of Dufferin. We've got a lot on the go, so be sure to follow Dufferin Spotlight on Facebook to keep up with the latest news. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. So, this will be an interesting one. Did you have any role models or positive influences growing up?
I had a lot. Definitely my parents. Like I said, my parents own their own business. And again, when they started that, it was not easy in the beginning. My dad worked a lot along with his brother. So it's a family-owned business. So I really watched the people in my family give what they had to their business in order for their families to grow and thrive. And I grew up in a really solid church, and I had a lot of really positive influences through the church as I was growing up.
That's good.
And then when I went to child and youth work school, I landed in 3 really fantastic field placements, but the last one being at the place that hired me for my first job out of school. And I had some mentors there that changed my life and taught me about leadership. So my mentor there, Jim Lewis, who has since left us. So we say hi to Jim's energy wherever that is. He passed away about 7 years ago. He taught me everything I needed to know about doing this job. He was probably one of the most visionary leaders I've ever met. And his daughter, Sherry, also mentored me. She's also passed away. I lost both of them, but they taught me what I needed to know while they were here. And I still look to their influence for guidance, even though they're no longer physically with me. And then I have some amazing women in my life. I have a very, very close-knit circle of women who support me in all the right ways and who mentor me and lift me up in that way. And that's always been really, really important for me too. So yeah, and I love reading. So there's a lot of authors out there in the world who, of course, I don't know personally, but who have influenced me and who have influenced my work. I studied in university over the last 2 years. I just graduated in June over the last 2 years and was exposed to, even more like visionaries from this field and people who worked on developmental theory and about social justice and all those things. So I think my influences are varied, but there's definitely been some good ones.
That's good, though. I mean, a good, well-rounded base to build.
I think so.
That's awesome. So where was your first job?
So my first job out of college was at Carpe Diem Therapeutic Residential Treatment Homes. So it was a private foster care agency. We would take contracts from children's aid societies all over the province. And so I did a lot of things there, but mostly I did case managing. So I case managed foster homes. I was a resource worker in foster homes, but I also did a lot of play therapy training when I was there and trauma and attachment theory. So then, this is actually the second branching out. I don't know if I told you this story.
No.
When we met before. So Sherry, who I mentioned, and I started the first branching out, which the name was slightly different than it is now. And we provided play therapy, behavioral therapy services, recreational therapy, and we worked on some amazing, innovative programming. Then we ran a physical gym program. So in school gyms, we would take all the kids who had been previously kicked out of all the other cooperative sports in the region because of behaviors and because of difficulties, and we'd run programming for them to get them integrated back into their communities. And we would also take foster children in those programs as well. And then I left that job because I moved out west. Sherry passed away and branching out dissolved. So when I came into a position where I was going to open my own business, I contacted Sherry's family and I asked them if I could have branching out back and modify the name slightly so it could be a legal company in Ontario. So this actually is a continuation of work that I started over a decade and a half ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And actually, Sherry's eldest son, who was in the foster care system, has autism. So she would have understood this. And I'm sure wherever she is, she does understand this project. And again, that's why I call this a blessed project, because it is. So that was the beginning of my career. And I worked on a very solid team there, mostly child and youth workers, but we had some other skills. And that I was the youngest on the team. And it was an extremely positive experience. It was tough. That was tough work. And I had some supervisors and some influences on that team who were just brilliant and set me up for the future. Little did they know where I would be 15 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that's quite the journey.
Yes, it is.
So would you like to discuss your education?
Sure. So after high school, I went to Tyndale College and Seminary for 1 year, and I did a certificate in theology. So when I was in high school, we still had the option to go to grade 13. So I forewent grade 13 and I went to a private school instead. Then I went on a trip to Honduras after the hurricane in 1988. And on that trip, I decided I was going to become a child and youth worker. So I applied to one school, one program. I don't recommend that for any people out there who are listening, who are applying to college. And I got in and I fast tracked through that program. So I did that in 2.5 years instead of 3.
Nice.
I did 3 placements in that, which were all absolutely amazing experiences. And then I took a couple decades off school and I went back 2 years ago and I took my BA in Human Services through Athabasca University. So that's all online study. It's independent study. I did it one course at a time. I studied 100 weekends.
Wow.
About 12 to 14 hours a weekend. It's all I did while I was working full time. And it was a brilliant experience. And I have my eyes set on a master's. I'd like to do my master's in community development at the University of Victoria at some point.
Awesome.
That got tabled when I decided to open my own business. It might be a bit much to keep pursuing that path, but I do believe that will happen because community development is absolutely my passion, and I'd like to work on that academically as well as boots on the ground like I'm doing now. So then when you're a child and youth worker at the beginning of my career, I worked for a private company, so we had money for training and funding. So I did all of my play therapy training, which is a 3-year course, and didn't get certified. And I did a lot of work in trauma and attachment, and that was all just like workshops and conference work, that kind of thing. So that all came into it's more formal training, and then everything else happened on the ground. Like my experience as I came up, I think in some ways is as impactful as going to school was. Learning as I was going through. Like, I am a student of life. I did my yoga teacher training 5 summers ago, and that was a really interesting educational experience too. But really taught me that I'm a student of life. Like, I'm always going to be a student.
I've said this before, but you got a lot going on.
Yeah,
like, wow.
A little bit.
But that's good, because, everyone can, it helps in so many different ways, like, your experience in all these different groups, like, even the yoga, I imagine, right? Like, especially because I think you do yoga classes with...
Yeah, we're starting yoga class on Wednesdays here. So I teach yoga day program a couple times a month. I know they would love to have a bit more. And we're starting a community yoga class here on Wednesday evenings. And then I teach 2 nights a week over at Kala Yoga as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So would you like to discuss any personal struggles you've overcome?
Wow. Yeah, I think that at the beginning of my career, burnout, overcommitting myself, and learning how to manage that work-life balance. That's ongoing for me, work-life balance. It is for all of us. Like, that's not a unique struggle to me at all. But certainly at the beginning of my career, I did not have a good handle on that. And that manifested in some pretty difficult ways for me. So in my relationships, also some addictions, and that was a tough road. I was burnt out. I was not living a healthy lifestyle. I did take time off from the field. That's when I found yoga, kind of during those years, and learned how to manage that a little bit better. But I don't think that's any of those struggles are unique to me. Humans in general struggle with burnout and addiction in our lives these days because we're all coping with a lot. People in this field struggle with both of those things in a very real way. And it took me a long time to learn what I need from life to be able to stay balanced. And I still don't always get it, but I know how to cope a little bit better now. Like, certainly as far as any addictions are concerned, very far ahead in that area, and that I'm very healed from those things, and my coping mechanisms are much better. But day-to-day balance, finding time to take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, take a weekend right when I need it, do my own yoga class, not just always teach them, right? Yeah. So I think those things, there were some big ones that I had to overcome, and now I need to work on the maintenance of that all the time. And I think that there are people out there that are going to hear this, that are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's possible to heal from that, but it takes a lot of work, a lot of time.
Yeah, it takes effort.
Yeah.
And I mean, and like you said, it's an ongoing thing too. It's not just a set it and forget it kind of thing.
No.
You got to work on it every day, and especially when you are still going on with the work-life balance. Like there's so many different factors, right? And that's awesome that they have someone that's strong and that's been through life that they can actually pull on the experience from. Because I mean, people that pretend to have perfect lives, they aren't open, and you don't get to benefit from their experience.
Right.
And nobody gets helped by that.
Right.
Like, not the people you're helping and not yourself. Like, it's...
And I think that being open about that stuff is the only way to be, right? And
Yes.
I think that we can be open about that stuff in a way that if there was someone who wanted to come talk to me about that they would know that I can be honest about that kind of stuff and not judgmental, because I've been there, right? Like I've been in the bad place where I needed other people to lift me up out of that because I wasn't getting out of it myself at that point in time, right? And I'm really, really fortunate and blessed to have people who are available to me. And, you know, we want to create a place here where we can do that for other people too, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that depression and loneliness lead to more damaging behaviors like addictions or, you know, destructive things, or your relationships suffer, or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
And it happens. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of environment can we create to help people know that that doesn't have to be the end of the road for you? You don't have to live like that.
No, everyone needs help sometimes, right? Like you said,
yeah.
and the biggest problem is people not knowing when to ask for it or take it. Like
Huge.
Even when you don't have to ask for it, a lot of people have problems taking it.
Yes.
And that's awesome because, I mean, your business is pretty much defined on helping people and getting them the support they need, and everyone coming together. So, I mean, it's awesome that, like, how your life, again, has basically manifested itself into this business.
Right. Yeah.
Which is
has.
awesome. And which means that it actually means a lot to you.
Sure does.
So, I mean, that's awesome. That's so great. Did you have any major investors?
My parents have helped me out in some ways, and my life partner, James, is also really helpful in that way.
Great.
But no, we don't have any major investors as far as outside my family.
Yeah.
So we are paying all our bills ourselves at this point in time.
That can be difficult, but at the same time, it's good because, I mean, once you start bringing in outside people, that brings in outside views and maybe
Yes.
outside motives.
Yes.
And at least with you and your team and everyone that's been involved, they're all in it for the right reasons.
Yeah. So, and I think for the scale of things right now too, I mean, we want to build the infrastructure to make this really community based. So yeah, we don't have the most money in the world. We don't have the fanciest stuff here. We got a lot of donations. We got a lot of people who showed up for us, and that's okay for us right now.
Well, and you're building it to be sustainable. Like, I mean,
Yes.
if somebody came in here and like at the start, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll bankroll you, and then they pulled it halfway, like after a couple months or a
Yes.
year, you're gonna have to completely readjust.
Yeah.
Whereas what you're doing now, again, you're building this for the long run.
Right. So it's small scale now, but I think that we have room to grow it the way the community wants to grow it.
Exactly.
Right.
It'll be organic.
Yes.
Awesome.
Great word.
Awesome. So with that, I mean, was credit or financing available to you?
I think it probably was available, but because the time frame was so short, I didn't really chase it. I mean, I've looked into some financing. I mean, because the federal government has, you know, women in business, financing for women in business, women entrepreneurs, and there is some opportunity around social finance, and that may be an option for us in the future if we want to do some sort of capital project like a building or a big project like that. That's a really time intensive process to go through. So at this point in time, we are what we are.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of time for what might not result in what you want or something that might not actually help you in the end.
Yep.
Because again, financing creates more responsibility and more stress.
Yes.
You don't need that. You got enough. You got a lot on your plate.
We got enough going on here.
Exactly. Hi everyone, this is Josh here with a third commercial break. So now that you know about the show and the overall mission of Dufferin Spotlight, you're probably asking yourself how we're going to pay for it all. We will provide advertising opportunities to interested parties, primarily local businesses, so they can reach people just like you. We prefer working with small local businesses as that's what we are, and it stops us from getting too reliant on big corporations who already have enough influence over the media landscape. If you are an organization who is interested in working with Dufferin Spotlight to promote your products or services, please reach out to us through our website, dufferinspotlight.ca, so we can bring your community to you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. So who was your first major customer?
So our first major customers were families that I've already been connected with in Orangeville. So those were the families who came for day programming. It's been a really supportive group of people. I'm really thankful for them, who are really looking for a safe and innovative space for their adults with developmental differences to spend their days and learn some skills and have social opportunities. So we have 10 families who are currently involved in day program. And then our other biggest customers have been some of the other agencies that we partner with. That has a lot to do with funding flow through, so that we take on different projects with Community Living Dufferin and Dufferin Child and Family Services. And that will grow because we are boundaryless. Because I'm a private business, we can tap into any sort of provincial funding. So people can come from Simcoe, they can come from York Region, they can come from Peel. Like because we're a private business and we're not funded by the government, we don't have to have any restrictions on boundaries. So I think that our major partners will grow and will likely grow quite quickly.
Awesome. That's good. Because, I mean, that gives you more to pull from and bring more resources to this community.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we have too many examples of money leaving it.
Right.
That's awesome. And again, helping build up this place, which is
and
here.
so people can live and work at home. I think we talked about at the very beginning, right? Being able to be an employer in Dufferin County is a real source of pride for me, because I love living here and I've always lived and worked here. Like for the whole time I've lived here, I've worked very locally. Like I've never left the region to work.
Awesome.
And I love that lifestyle. So for me, that really works. So for other people who are looking for that lifestyle and not having to do the commute and go to the city, go to Brampton, whatever the case may be, right? To be able to provide opportunities, and that actually makes us a community, right? We see our people, our participants of program on Saturday when we're at the market, and that's amazing because we're doing life with them. We're not just providing a service that shuts down at 4:30. It does shut down at 4:30, but the chances that you might bump into someone in Orangeville, like pretty much, like I can't take 2 steps without bumping, right? Because I've lived here a long time. I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And to be able to connect with people like that, and to be able to be safe people for people with vulnerabilities who we work with out in the community, they know where we are.
Yeah.
And part of it is about building those connections. That's been cool.
So what was your biggest challenge in starting this business?
Starting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like the day you have to make the decision, am I going to actually go onto the government website and get the registration number and sign the papers to have the lease and sign the contract to bring on my first staff and call the families and ask them if they want to join us. Like that starting week where I actually had to physically do those things, and the whole time in the back of my head thinking, are you out of your mind? Right? That doubt is so real. And that's what stops us. That's what stops us from doing the big things in our lives. So once we got it going and I was like, Kate, we are doing this and I'm running this project. I love running a project. I could run circles around the project. That's not the problem. Starting it that first day, when I sat down, I had to call my parents and say to my partner, okay, listen, I'm opening my own business. I just registered it. Like, this is real and this is happening, and this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. That was the hardest thing about starting my own business. Day one.
And people forget what day one was like.
I kind of want to forget what day one was like. Right? Because I still feel a little bit of fear when I think about that. Even though I'm here now, right? I still think about that and I'm like, seriously? Like, what possessed you on that day? Right? I could have got another job, right? I could have chosen a different path. I feel called to this, but I've ignored other callings because I was scared. So I think the fear is the biggest challenge in any big project. It is.
And life in general. But
Yep.
yeah, definitely in starting your own business for sure. Especially with something new like this, right? Like you're going out there and you're starting something different. And I mean, it can be scary. Cool as it is, like and it's awesome and it's amazing, and as good as the outcome will be, it is scary doing that first step. And I mean, especially when you start telling people, right? Like you never know what people are going to do. And especially when you start looking for customers. Like that's when it gets like, never mind signing a lease. That's also when it's real, because it's financial commitment.
Right.
And then your customers too. It's just like, okay, this is real. And it can be a concern sometimes.
And I think that when I actually just had this conversation with another young woman who started a business. I think that when you make leaps like that, you open yourself up to a lot of judgment.
Yep.
Right? Because people
100%.
actually came up to me and said, like, well, like, are you going to be able to make it? And I was like, I don't know. Like, obviously the goal is to make it, but can I promise you I'm going to make it? Well, no, I can't promise you anything about what's going to happen in the future, right? And people's judgments are for real. And everyone says, yeah, let that stuff slide off your back. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. And I do my absolute best to do that, but it hurts to hear that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think when people see someone who's doing something, I wouldn't even call this outside of the box. Like, we busted the box wide open here. And it's new and it's scary and people aren't exactly sure if they can trust us yet. And all of those things are actually completely legitimate.
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah, there's questions and there's doubt.
But, like, it shouldn't be that incomprehensible to people, especially with a business like this. Like, it makes all the sense in the world. Like, really, it does. And I mean, it shouldn't be that surprising to people. But I completely understand what you mean. Like, I mean, I got similar looks myself, so I can relate to that. But I mean, for a business such as this, I mean, people are people, but it's like, man, people should be just fully behind something like this.
Yeah, I know. But it's scary. Right?
Yes.
And I don't really think that anyone wants to judge something like this negatively. And really, it hasn't been judged negatively because in the grand scheme of things, I think people know that we're really trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes people imagine what it would be like for them. And if they're not quite in the position where that might work for them, those judgments do come out.
Yep.
And it's about constantly rising up, right?
Stay focused on the end goal.
Yes. And hard sometimes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt, but again, you get to see the proof of your good work every day, and I mean, so can everybody else. Again, on Facebook, just go like Branching Out Support Services, because I mean, like when I saw the pictures of the New Year's Eve party, it was awesome. That's when you know, like, we need more businesses like yours in our community. Like, whatever the intent is, but something that's positive and meant to build. Well, like you mentioned before, a social enterprise.
Well, and I think that's a really good thing to bring up because I think it is possible to combine business. Often when we hear business, we hear private, you know, your mind kind of goes to big corporations,
Yep.
greed, corruption, those kinds of things, right? Mine does anyway. It's like that is not a judgment. That's my mind goes there too.
That's what they're built for.
That you can combine business with social good.
Yep.
And I own another social enterprise called The Essential Good.
Awesome.
Where I have been proving that is a possible and a viable business model. And if people are interested about social enterprise, watch the documentary The Social Shift, which is a really good explanation about what social enterprise is. But I think social enterprise is rising up, and I think that there is a generation of young people out there who are graduating from colleges and universities and starting their own businesses, and a lot of them have a social focus. So they're making money and impacting the world. I mean, a lot of this work is being done around the environment. Huge amounts of work is being done around the environment, social justice for sure. And I think we will see even more in social services as we move forward, so that people are making money, making decent money too, like supporting themselves through life as they give back to their communities and as they give back to the world. I mean, some of these things are global, huge social enterprises. I mean, the first one that got a lot of publicity, and I'm not going to remember the author's name, but you can look it up and put a footnote on this when you do, started a bank in Bangladesh that gave microloans to women.
Yeah, okay.
Because women do a lot of the commerce because of textiles and trading in Bangladesh. And no one would give them loans because a lot of them don't have permanent addresses, and they didn't have a man to co-sign the loan for them because many of their men are absent. A lot of them, you know, because they leave Bangladesh to work. So there are many single women there.
Oh.
So they don't have men to co-sign on their loans. So no banks would give them loans. So this guy opened up a lending bank for women to give them microloans. And we're talking like 500 to 1,000 USD.
Yeah.
So that they could start their own businesses, whether it be sewing, creating jewelry, pottery, all of those things.
Yeah.
Food. And they have something like 99.7% of those women end up paying the loans back and making enough money to support their children and get their daughters into business. So, and this bank makes money, right?
Yeah.
So this was the first huge example about social enterprise that worked. is based on a banking system. How much more capitalist beside the banking system can you get? But
Exactly.
it was doing good. It was doing good for those, and to this day continues to do good for those women who get the microloans in Bangladesh. So I think that we are seeing businesses like this pop up everywhere, and we would count ourselves among them as much as anyone else. So we are a business, but we are creating social services jobs in Dufferin County. We are recycling most of the profit we make right now back into the business, back into our community. So we have a variety of local businesses that we work with: Johannes Karate School, Busy Lizzie Enterprises, art teachers, Zumba teachers, fitness teachers, that we are putting money into their businesses because we pay them to provide services to us. So we're putting money back into their small businesses, and we are volunteering in this community. So we're adding to the social capital of Dufferin County. So social capital is when you provide a service, and pretty soon we will have individuals with developmental differences acquiring jobs in
Awesome.
Dufferin County, right? So that's a social enterprise. Yes, we are making money to feed ourselves and to put food on my staff and my table, but we're giving back to this community in a pretty big way, and that will only grow as we grow. That's a social enterprise. It's making money with a social mission. It's combining the two models, and it's successful.
Yeah, I mean, like your business is a great role model in so many different respects, but I mean, that is something that pretty much every business could do.
Yes.
They could just find something and then build off that and make a business around it. Thankfully, it's becoming more and more popular. I mean, there's whole investment funds dedicated to investing in social businesses now, or at least making sure they're corporately, like, they're socially responsible at the very least. But I mean, there still is a ton of progress we need to make.
Right, and I think what we're seeing with corporations, that they do corporate responsibility, we're not seeing a lot of that money funnel down to really local grassroots nonprofits where it should be. I mean, I've worked for a couple different grassroots nonprofits. Fantastic work, tough work, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not actually seeing a lot of those corporate dollars, because there isn't a lot of payback for corporations to put money into grassroots.
Yeah, and a lot of
Right.
it's just fictional accounting. They don't actually donate the money.
Yeah.
Like,
So I think that there is a bit of a shift into social enterprise, and they're teaching in universities now.
Yep.
So people, business majors, are being taught about social enterprise at business school. So we're going to see a generation of people coming up who are going to be incorporating social enterprise into tech. That's a big one that's coming up. Environment, that's the second big one that's coming up, right? And we're going to start talking about corporate social responsibility in a very different way than we used to be talking about it. This isn't about, Coca-Cola giving to the biggest nonprofit in the country, whatever that is right now, right?
Yeah.
Right? This is going to be about people on the ground in communities actually making money and making a difference at the same time. This is going to be huge. We're going to see this revolution start to really roll out. I believe that.
100%. I mean, I went to business school, and I mean, I was taught it. So, I mean, it's going. It's happening. And, I mean, you get to some of these big companies, and you see what you're doing, and you need to do something good with your life. You see it after a while. Yeah. Awesome. So, here's a question. Do you have any advice for those starting their own business?
Yeah, stay organized and take the leap and see how you can give back, because I'm a yoga teacher, and I do not use this word lightly or in a cliche way. Karma is a very real thing.
Yeah.
What you put out there into the world comes back to you, and comes back to you magnified when you do that with the right intentions, right? So do that with your business. Find some way that you can give. Because it's good for your health.
Yeah.
We know that. The research shows that giving and being part of your community is actually very good for your physical and mental health. But I think you will see your business flourish when you are open to all sorts of opportunities. And whether that be, you and your employees take a few days a year and volunteer somewhere else, go plant trees, go clean up the streets, come hang out with a group of awesome people who have developmental differences. Whatever your team's passion is, find that and go give. 2 or 3 days a year, 2 or 3 hours a week are not going to cut that much into your budget, right? That's not a financial thing. But what you're going to get from that, and the connections that you're going to make from that, are going to improve your business. You're going to be known as a business who's part of your community and who gives back. That's fantastic for business, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Right? There's respect in that, and your business is your image. Make that image something that you believe in and that garners respect.
Like, there's an example, like Deja Vu Diner. That's been around forever, right? They come under new management. They get involved in everything.
Yep. Yeah, Jennifer's amazing.
Yeah, and
Yep.
now you see how well, like, that is the forefront of everybody's mind.
100%. And I mean, I know for sure, like, she takes placement students from the transitions classroom at ODSS, and those are all people that have differences, right? The way she gives back is incredible.
Yeah.
And that's a hop in place over there. I mean, you can't get a table for
Exactly.
breakfast, right? But I think she's a perfect example that I would say the same thing about the women who run Lavender Blue Catering.
Yep.
I mean, what they do is very quiet sometimes. I mean, they're friends of mine. So, you know, I know some of the things that they do, some of the donations that they make, and they don't even, you know, say a lot about it sometimes. They're very successful because the vibe that they put out there, I mean, they've helped me when I needed it. And the vibe that they put out there comes back. They are known as solid business people, women who really care about this community. It's amazing. And I mean, I'm sure there's a million more examples
Yeah.
in Dufferin County alone. Find those people when you go into business. Find those people and get them to mentor you.
That's good. That's really good advice.
Right?
Yeah.
Learn from them. They have a lot to teach you.
Yeah, that's true. Because we do have a lot of good resources.
Oh, absolutely. People who are giving a ton in this community.
We're lucky. So you mentioned how you like to hire local. Are you currently hiring, or will you be in the near future?
Yeah, no, we kind of are always hiring for contract positions. So that doesn't always include full-time work, but it definitely includes relief work. So when we need someone to come in and take over at day program because someone's sick or they have, you know, need to be with their family or need a day off, we do that every once in a while, you know, take a day off. Then they could come in and cover day program for us. And then also I'm looking for people with diverse set of skills who can work one-to-one contracts for me. So that would be individual and family support in the community. We have a lot of families out there who need really solid support professionals who can take their individuals out, give them some respite, and we will be setting up contracts like that as we move forward. So if there are people out there who are interested in doing that kind of work on a part-time or as needed basis, we're always looking.
Hi everyone, this is our last commercial break. Thank you all for listening so far, and I hope you've enjoyed it. To keep up with everything that Dufferin Spotlight is doing, you should follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can find other episodes of Dufferin Spotlight on Business by looking us up on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, in addition to our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Of course, the best way to see all of our stuff is to check out our website, dufferinspotlight.ca. If we are not already on your preferred platform, let us know through our website and we'll do our best to get on it. That's it for commercials, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business.
Do you have any plans for expansion?
Yes, we do. I think
Awesome.
that we would like to expand rurally, and I am not sure exactly what that looks like yet. So if there are people out there who have advice on that, but we know that Orangeville is a bit of a hub in Dufferin County right now where there are some services that people can access. When you start to go rurally, driving becomes a real obstacle for people.
Yep.
Either because their caregivers are working full-time. A lot of people who have developmental differences, whether they be acquired brain injury, autism spectrum disorders, whatever, don't drive.
Yeah.
So if they live outside of Orangeville, right, in between Orangeville and Shelburne or Orangeville and Grand Valley, all those, we know where the rural areas are. What service are they accessing? So we're not sure what that solution is yet. That's something that we're really chewing on right now because we are hearing from caregivers, from individuals, from agencies. This is a huge need. So I could see expansion happening that way.
Yeah.
We're going to outgrow this space.
Yeah, I can see that.
We just moved in, but every year there's a new group of students who graduates from the ODSS transitions program, and some of them will need day program spots, others won't. They will go into volunteer work placements, have other things going on for them. So I could see day program expanding as time goes on, and we'll be picking up more community support work as time goes on too. So I see expansion in all areas, and we're really going to take the lead from the community on that, because they're going to be able to tell us in what areas we need to expand. So we're going to have some, advisory groups, and we work really closely with some of the larger established organizations here in Orangeville to really find out what's needed, because what's needed often changes with the funding environment, right? How many dollars and what the funding environment is like. So we're able to be flexible. So our expansion will look like what the community needs. That's actually not really my decision. I mean, it's my decision what we move forward with. But as far as the idea generation and what people are going to come to us with, I mean, that's how we're going to respond and continue forward in our business.
Yeah, and I mean, flexibility is key. I mean, we've seen, some people may be affected by what the changes with Ontario health teams.
Yes.
And I mean, that just changes with the government.
Yes.
And I mean, that could be more often than we like. And I mean, funding eligibility and everything like that, and the amounts, it all changes. And I mean, it's difficult enough for the guys that are actually within the government to deal with it. Imagine just being a business, never mind actually dealing with everything else that a small business owner needs to deal with. You also have to deal with that.
Well, and I think the reality is, imagine being a parent.
Oh,
having to deal with those changes, right? Or a caregiver, right? Because I think that it's not just a parent. I would say caregiver, because people are caregiving for a variety of ages. It's not always a parent situation.
And they're all making money off it.
Right. And so, sometimes I think about this as a professional. I navigate those systems. I try and be responsive, try and be aware of what's going on politically, how I can best respond, what professionals I need to call, the paperwork that I need to do. Like, it's a swamp.
Yeah.
Okay. I went to school for this. I took administration classes in school. I took community development classes in school. Not all our parents have that experience, nor should they. Their job is to be caregivers and parents. Yeah. Caregivers first, right? That's their job. And then to try and navigate some of those systems, my goodness, it's tough. So, I think that we need to even be responsive in that way. What kind of support can we be giving parents around the swamp of paperwork and funding and figuring out the system that changes every 4 years? Just adding some real spice into the mix.
And looking out for the people that actually need to be looked out for.
Yes.
Because at least when you guys are involved, you are in it for the right reasons. We're really lucky to have you, a business such as this in our community. Because again, like you mentioned, like in the rural areas, it's not easy to get support to them, or for them to get support.
And I think in this case, just because of the driving and how so many people in our population don't drive, it really is about bringing the support to them. Right? There cannot actually be an expectation that everybody in the rural communities can make it into the town center of Orangeville. We're going to need to be really creative about our care solutions. At the very beginning of my career, I had an on-the-road play therapy business. So I would go do in-home play therapy for people who had multiple children in the home. So maybe they couldn't do the drives, or maybe driving was, a barrier. And I would go to the home. I don't know what it looks like yet. And I think that we're going to have some really amazing discussions with people in our communities, Shelburne, Grand Valley, Orangeville, to try and figure out what that looks like.
Awesome. That's good. I'm excited to see, because I mean, in so many different populations, like if you guys could figure it out, I'm sure there'd be tons of people trying to copy you or trying to at least take advantage of what you're doing. So I know you're early on, but have you exceeded your original goals, or at least your goals for where you would be at this stage?
I think we have in some ways. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to be done. That's the nature of human services. I mean, the ultimate goal is to work ourselves out of a job, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's completely within, when we give ourselves a reality check in the environment and where we're at politically and socially, if that's real. So if that's not real and we need to keep doing this work that we're called to do, we'll keep doing it. I mean, when we started here, we thought, well, it would be nice to get a little day program up and running and run some therapeutic groups. Things have fallen into place very, very quickly. So yes, we have exceeded some of our original goals, but there's much, much work to be done, and we're really committed to that.
Well, it looks like you guys are well on your way there, and I mean, I keep saying it, but I love your Facebook page, because I mean, it's nice to see something good in this community every day, pretty much, which, I mean, you go on the groups, and there's some nice stuff on there, but it's not always positive. But at least with your Facebook page, you really do see, and I mean, you want to see something like that succeed.
Yeah.
Like that's just, when you get down to it, that's just what it is.
Right.
So I think you have a lot of people supporting you on your journey to becoming a success. So all the best to that, because I mean, I really too want to see this succeed. And I think the community, well, you've already seen it. They do want to see it.
Yes, I would agree.
Which is awesome. So what would you consider to be your biggest challenge in the years ahead?
I think the unpredictability of the funding situation. I mean, we do rely on funding for a lot of our individuals who come to programs and groups and who receive that kind of support out in the community. So, I mean, I think any social service business, whether you be profit or nonprofit, that is always a challenge, right? Things change, and sometimes they change incredibly slowly, and sometimes they change incredibly fast. So there's just like not a lot of predictability
Nope.
in that. So, you know, you're making plans, but, you know, in the back of your head, you're also thinking, like, assuming the funding situation doesn't change, right? Like, you'll hear that a lot in management in any social service, profit or nonprofit, doesn't matter. And I think challenges also really include keeping programming very, very fresh, keeping our training up to date. And maybe those aren't challenges. Maybe those are just things that we need to stay very aware of and working always with intention. I think sometimes in this field, because of the things I mentioned before, like the high rate of burnout, the high rate of caregiver fatigue, it is easy sometimes to become complacent, and it has happened to me. So again, there is no judgment in those words from me, because I know where it happened to me in my own career and in my own life, where I just became kind of saturated in what I was doing, and I lost the passion a little bit. I lost what I really needed to have to really serve my people. So always a challenge to find that balance, to keep your teams and your people healthy.
Yeah.
And to be able to take rest and intentional downtime personally.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I mean, like you said before, like yoga, and I mean, do you do meditation as well?
I do.
So, I mean, those things can help you, and I mean, like, it really can. It all it takes is like just like for something like meditation, like 10 minutes a day.
Absolutely.
And it can really help set you. Like, it really can, because again, like, it gives you some perspective, and it helps.
Yeah.
No, that is a challenge. And I mean, I think there's a ton of people, whether you're just starting a business or you're 20 years into one, or you're just working for somebody else. It's really, or you're caregivers.
Yes.
It's easy to experience burnout.
Yes.
And I mean, work-life balance is important. So I mean, no, again, great advice. Great advice. I think there's a big answer to this question, but are you looking forward to anything in the near future?
Yeah, so much. I mean, I think that the growth that is possible, the lives that could be impacted by this, the opportunities that we're going to be able to provide, and it's positive, right? I mean, we are in a position where we can actually do boots on the ground work to empower people to do what they need to do moving forward. And that is so exciting to me, right? I don't work in the same kind of system that other human services workers work in, and that's okay. We're all in a different path, and we're all on a different journey, and I strongly believe there's a reason for all of those journeys. But right now, the amount of flexibility and creativity that I'm allowed in this work is brilliant. It's where I want to be, and that makes the future very, very exciting, because we can take our passion and we can put it to work.
That is awesome.
And I mean, my team would say the same thing. My team is a team of people who loves coming to work every day, because the possibilities here are literally endless. Like, that's not cliche. I don't say that lightly.
I could believe it, because I mean, just with your blue sky meetings, again, like I said before, I mean, I've been in a big place with virtually unlimited resources, and it's not as fun as if you could come to a place like this and actually come up with good ideas that will help people.
Yeah.
And that is amazing. I can just imagine.
It's true, right? And I think that the future looks bright when you're working in your dream job.
Yeah.
Right? And I want to provide dream jobs and dream lifestyles. And that doesn't have to be a big, huge thing, right? Like, I think that it can happen here, and it is happening here. And I want to provide that for people. And really, I just provide the opportunity. They make it what they want to make it, right? That's on the individual, that's on the person, that's on the human being.
Yeah.
But when you have that opportunity put in front of you, you're more likely to take it than if you're stuck somewhere that's not working for you. So I see a lot of brightness in the future.
I can see why. Local opportunities for people as well, like you were mentioning, like that's always something to look forward to. Like that's, and again, growing your team.
Yes.
That's awesome. What will happen after you leave the company?
Wow, it's pretty early to talk about that, but I do think about it, because I think that to be a good leader, you need to always be aware of that.
Yeah.
Either because you need to leave because there is a new or different calling on your life, or because your family situation changes, or because you need to go do something different. So on this team, I'm trying to be more intentional, and this is a real challenge for me, actually, making sure that although I am in a leadership position here, that there are a lot of people who know how to do my job, because there's going to be a day where I'm going to want to take a holiday, and I cannot be the only person who knows how to run QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Or like that's a small example, but you know what I mean?
100%.
Like I cannot be the only person who only knows the phone number for such and such community partner. So part of it is providing my team with the opportunities to have a lot of leadership chances, so that, in day program, they know I'm not here every day. I have other things that I need to be doing, and I count on them to lead well.
Yeah.
And I expect them to lead well, and they do. So I think that if there was ever a time that I needed to sell the business, it would likely be to someone who's been training up underneath me and who's been with me from the start, who is passionate and who I can pass the torch to. That happens. That needs to happen, and this isn't about ego.
It's good that you know that, because there's people that have been in business for 30, 40 years, and they will not empower people because it's based out of fear, right? They're like, oh, well, this person could replace me, not looking at the advantages that it brings. And you realize those advantages, and you realize it's the best thing for the business. And never mind, it's good for your employees too, because it empowers them, and
it really makes them invest here.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And I think you have the best team when you have an invested and happy team.
Yeah.
And when they have that kind of responsibility, it makes it theirs. Gives them something to be proud of. And so, yeah, I might not be here one day, but I hope Branching Out still is, right? Sherry and I built Branching Out 15 years ago, and life happened. And because life happens, right? I never expected to leave, and I certainly never expected my partner to get cancer and pass away when she was 42, right? But it happened because it does. What do we need to know about that and learn from that? And I think that's what I need to know and learn from that, is that I need to let go of my control in some of those areas and to be the absolute best teacher and mentor that I can be, so that this lasts longer than I do.
Well,
it's about legacy for me.
Exactly. And it's such a great thing. You'd like for one day maybe that this won't be needed, but at the same time it can evolve into something else.
Right.
And as long as people are being helped, and especially underserved populations, I think that you'd be happy with that, right?
Of course I would be.
So yeah, as long as it keeps going.
Right. My friend Mike and I had a conversation when I was like in the very, very, very early days when I was thinking about doing this. He also moved into a leadership position about that time. And we talked about how, as leaders, how we stay really grounded and not let ego take over. And I said to him, you know what, when you start this managed position, how are you going to do that? How are you going to stay and not become like all the leaders that we talk about? We go, like that we complain about, right? Oh, this person, like they're so in their head and they don't know how the system works and they're not boots on the ground. Like this happens, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And he said to me, I go spend time with my people. So he works in a residence, a group home. And he said, when I start to feel like I'm getting in my own head about power, or my ego's in the way, leave the office. I go spend time with my people. And that keeps me grounded and reminds me why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Leaders eat last. And so when we cultivate those attitudes as leaders, when we cultivate those values, when we sit down and eat with our people, when we tie someone's shoes for them, when we serve as leaders, we're able to let go of some of those control things.
Yeah.
That leaders tend to have, because in some ways that's a thing that leaders have in common, right?
It's easy to get blinded.
Yeah, it really is. Because the details and the rushing and the need for someone to be, there does need to be someone in control sometimes. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like sometimes someone needs to make an executive decision and get it done. But I try and encourage my team, and I have some amazing mentors who taught me this and who I still work with today, and people like Mike in my life who can ground me into those things that remind me about servant leadership. When you serve and lead like that, you can give your business away at the end of the day. It's not about me. It's about the people.
Like I said earlier, we're so lucky to have you in this business, in our community.
Thanks.
there's a lot of communities that would benefit for something like this, and the truth is they'll never get it, which is sad. But we have to be grateful for what we have, and again, for people like you that are doing this, because it's not something that, like, you know, everyone's doing. You look at the corner and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do what they're doing.
Right.
It's just amazing. Like, it's great to see, and I mean, again, such positivity, and you get to see it every day. That's awesome. So with that, is there anything you'd like to mention before we wrap up here?
Wow. I don't think so.
Okay, awesome.
Seems like that was a lot of mentioning. I go on and on and on.
No, thank you. And then I'll just ask, what's the best way to reach you?
So you can email me at kimbranching@gmail.com, through the Facebook page or Instagram at Branching Out Supports. You can find us at 5 First Street.
Awesome.
And out and about in Orangeville. Wave if you see us. You'll see my day program crew out walking, and make sure you stop and say hi if you see the crew out. And you can reach us through any of those things. And our website is not launched yet, but we will make sure to shout about it on Facebook when we get that up and rolling as well.
Awesome. And just so it's clear, that's 5 First Street, and that's located right next to Gauntlet Comics, which was our very first episode.
And we are very good friends with Chris from Gauntlet Comics. Sometimes he comes over and does trivia for the day program crew that's here. So he brings over comics and he does trivia games with us, and then the comics are the prizes. Our guys absolutely love Chris. He's been a major support since the first day we moved in. He's a great guy. Go shop at Gauntlet.
He's a wealth of knowledge too.
Absolutely.
So he'd be great for trivia.
Absolutely. So fun. It's been a really lovely partnership, us being neighbors here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been great.
All right, everybody, and that's it for this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to Kim from Branching Out Support Services for taking the time to help us out with our show, and for those of you who listened. To see the amazing things that Kim and the crew are up to, follow Branching Out Support Services on Facebook and Instagram, or contact them through kimbranching@gmail.com. If you would like to learn more about the people and businesses who make Dufferin what it is, be sure to check back every Tuesday for new episodes. The easiest way to do this is to follow or subscribe to our show wherever you prefer to listen. We are currently available on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, in addition to Facebook and YouTube. Of course, you can find all of our episodes and more on our website, dufferinspotlight.ca. If there is anywhere else you would like to see us, please let us know through our website, and we'll do our best to get on it. If you haven't had a chance to check out our last episode, it was with Nasir Jamal, the founder of Life Reset Academy. Nasir is a life coach and author, and we discussed the Kindness Challenge. This is where she challenges everyone to do an act of kindness every day for a month. This is a great way to start the new decade, so check out this episode to find out more. You can also see what Nasir is up to by following her or Life Reset Academy on Facebook. Until next time, get to know your community and shop local. Thanks.